Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in. We're back with another edition of Passion and Precision Podcast. You already know I'm Kyle. Got fellow co-host Jory here in the building, and we also have Bella making her appearance early on. So you already know we're we're ready for another great episode. We got a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, Jory, how are you doing tonight?
Ma'am, I have a disruption in my lap right now.
I
So
mean, it's all good.
I'm
Bella,
doing all right. I'm
Bella
doing
is
pretty
brave.
good. You got to do this while I'm talking. You got to shake your toy and throw it at me while I'm talking. You better not bark at me. I'm doing pretty. I'm all right. Can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm good. It's fortunately, we're coming down to the final weeks of the NFL season, so that's obviously not a good thing. But Championship Sunday is a fun day. I do like they put both games on the same day, get it right after another. So once the first game finishes, you're like, oh, celebrating that team making the Super Bowl. You turn right around, you get the second game, and all the drama and everything that comes with it. So I cannot complain one bit. But I mean, we do have more than just NFL to talk about. We're going to talk some NBA, and then within NFL, we will talk obviously playoffs, everything like that. We're going to talk about the coaching carousel, which the head coaching jobs are slowly coming off the board one by one. We're down to two left, although one seems like it's going to be filled any day now, and then the
The
other
other
one,
one.
I honestly think the other one, they kind of sat this out and are going to wait for the guy that I assume they're going to go target once their team's eliminated. And then, of course, we got to end the show with Final Burn because that's what we do. And like so far, first couple weeks, I feel like it's become a really great segment. So make sure you all stay tuned for that at the end of the show. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our first topic, where let's talk about NBA. Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, because I feel like you have to talk about the two of them at the same time now. Because anytime you hear Jimmy Butler trade rumors, it's like Bradley Beal is involved in the same rumor. So from here on, I guess we're going to talk about them as an item. Now, Jimmy Butler, through was it Mark Spears on ESPN, said he'd go anywhere but Memphis. Okay, that's cool. Bradley Beal recently was he'd waive his no trade clause to go to the right destination, wherever that is. So I guess looking at these two, are either one of them difference makers in any way?
First of all, Jimmy, what the hell did the Grizzlies do to you?
I need to know that too. I don't get it.
What did they do to you? You're open to go. First, it was I'm open to go to anywhere but such and such. I forgot
Mhm.
what two teams it was the first time,
Yeah, I can't remember either.
but he did that.
Hmm.
Then it's I'm open to go anywhere but Memphis.
Hmm.
Pat Riley needs to ship his ass to Charlotte.
I mean, yeah. Like, why not?
Look, if he's so confident in his abilities to be, if he's so confident that he can take any team to a championship level, go to
Hmm.
Charlotte. Better yet, go to Washington.
Hmm. It's almost like I don't even think with him it's like a confidence thing. Like he can turn it around. It just seems like he has put his finger on Memphis, and for whatever reason, whether it's somebody in front office, somebody on the team, he just doesn't want to be there in the same place, same time as that person.
Is Marcus Smart still in Memphis?
Yes.
That probably might be the issue.
Well, I kind of assumed Marcus Smart would be a Jimmy Butler type of guy.
It's either that or the coaching staff.
Yeah,
Because I'm like,
every
if
guy.
you're gonna sit here and hate on Ja,
Mm-hmm.
Zach Edey, JJJ, I mean Jaren Jackson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, y'all. Um, man. Um, Desmond Bain is still there. Yeah,
Yep.
that weird shaping dude is still there. Uh,
Yes.
if you're gonna sit here and say that you're hating on all of them and you don't want to play with them and da 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 da, they don't even acknowledge you.
Right. I feel like I've never heard Memphis say they were really interested in getting Jimmy Butler, that they're targeting Jimmy Butler, that they've had conversations
Exactly.
with the Heat for Jimmy Butler. But for some reason, he's just like, don't send me there.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you where else not to send him. The Lakers.
I mean, I feel like early on in the Butler stuff, we heard people talking Lakers. I don't know if I've heard it as much
If I'm
recently.
JJ, I'm like, don't. I already had to deal with LeBron
Mm-hmm.
and his son. Don't do
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. All very true. But um,
About trades and whatnot. He should not have found out that
here's going,
he was
coach.
potentially on the block. What's good? Um, via social media, however, they should have contacted him saying, hey, we would like to make you available. What teams would you waive your no trade contract clause to? That's the
Mm-hmm.
professional way to handle it.
Yep.
But the Suns want to be petty and bench him and alienate him and make him seem like he's the only issue. The issue in Phoenix is that poor ass front office.
Yeah.
You have three people making $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just say dang? Just say bump the apron, and that's why your death pieces are the way that they are. Tragic and
Mm-hmm.
inconsistent. So if you're gonna sit here, both Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal really don't have appeal to me.
Right.
Because Jimmy Butler is a very good, I want to make this clear. Jimmy Butler is a very good all around basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a 1-2. On a championship roster, Jimmy Butler is a 3.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I think at this stage of his career, being 30, 35, 36 years old, yeah, if you told me Jimmy Butler was a number three, I guess depending on who the number one and number two would be, I could say, yeah, that might be something I'd be interested in.
That's why I
But
said a championship roster, not on Oklahoma, not on like the Bulls or whatnot.
right, so yeah, I mean, even I feel like even at his best, I never saw Jimmy Butler as a number one guy who's going to lead a team to a title. I know he's been to the finals a couple of times, but look how those finals appearances went. There were there were games that he had like good second halves or good fourth quarters. Rarely you got like a full 4 quarter experience where you were like Jimmy Butler's cooking or he's the most dominant player on the court right now. You very
Yeah,
rarely
until
got
the
that.
playoffs.
Yeah,
And by then, they done bottomed out and they're barely getting into the playoffs.
yeah, yeah. What's going on, Coach? Uh, talking about Phoenix, they don't have any bench either. They're not deep. It's another reason why they're not a good team. The money that they pay Booker, Durant, and Bradley, and no bench. Yeah, because look, today's NBA, if you're going to go into apron, second apron, like you better be doing it for a team that's a contender.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're, the Celtics have done that, gone to the second apron, they won a title, they're still in the picture. That's money well spent. If you're Phoenix and you're doing this, and the best you're probably going to be is a 6 seed and hope that you can make the Western Conference Finals, then yeah, what's the point of paying all that
I don't
luxury
even think
tax
they're going to
money?
be a six seed.
I'm just saying that's their best bet is being a 6 seed. Like they're probably yes, they're probably going to just be a play-in team, fight their way out of that, or get eliminated in the play-in tournament, and you're paying a luxury tax bill. Doesn't make any sense. And all this when Frank Vogel was there and said, "I need a point guard." I guess this was the report or whatever. Frank Vogel said, "I need a point guard," and they're like, "Yeah, Bradley Beal, great,
And then they fired a coach
yes."
because they did the wrong type of grocery shopping.
Mm-hmm. Funny how that always works that way. Owners get to make as many mistakes as they want, and then because coaches can't cover for it, they fire the coach. So, huh, I guess better luck to those two. But I guess
You
before we
have
move on, oh sorry, go ahead.
when you have Yusef Nurkic as your enforcer, that lets you know about the state of your team.
Yeah, if they keep the same roster and healthy, the highest they can be is a 6. No more than that. They may be playing maybe a playing team this year. I think they're going to be a playing team. Yeah, I couldn't
Because they
see them.
can't be healthy. This is the Suns we're going to talk about. KD's going to
Yes.
miss his games.
Yep.
Bill, even though he's been relegated to bench duty, is not notoriously healthy, period.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, they're not going to do well this year, and they deserve it.
Yeah. So I guess before we move on, with Butler and Beal, by the trade deadline, which is coming up in, is it next week or 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Will Butler be moved, Beal be moved, or both? Or neither?
Neither.
Okay.
Is involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it does seem like if one gets moved, the other one probably will because they're probably going to be in the same deal. Which the amount of like 3 team, 4 team, and 5 team deals I'm seeing thrown out there, that is a lot of moving parts to kind of get done in a couple of weeks. Unless these talks have kind of been going on for a little bit, and maybe they're close on something. Because the rumor is, Butler wants to be in Phoenix, so he'd end up there. I think the Bucks have some interest in Beal, so that's where he would end up. And then all the names like being talked about leaving Milwaukee would be like Portis, Connaughton, Middleton, guys like that. Um, hey, what's going on, John? Kawhi might be in this trade deal. I don't see it. I don't see that.
And the Clippers know if they don't have Kawhi, they have nothing for that new state, that new arena. Because what are they going to rely on? Old ass James Harden?
I mean, I guess they're kind of beating expectations right now. But yeah,
For now.
yeah, I don't know if they look like a team probably after the trade deadline if they don't do anything that might start fading a little bit. Anthony, what's going on? Jimmy to Dallas.
For what?
Yeah,
You just got PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, I believe, last year. You're not going to trade them again this year.
you got Clay. At least this version of Clay.
Who's taking that?
But I think that's a good question. Like, what would Dallas have to give up? I'm sure Jimmy would love
PJ.
to be there.
They would have to give up either PJ or Gafford.
Mm-hmm.
For you to get a starter, you're going to have to trade a starter.
Right. But I mean, we'll probably get more crazy rumors as we get, especially as we get like the week of the deadline. Expect to hear probably a lot more about possible destinations for Butler. Might even get a surprise one. Because it seemed like at first a lot of people talked Golden State, and then they kind of faded out of that picture. But we'll see. Because I agree with you. I think this is a whole lot of posturing for a guy that I don't think does anything for you. Um, hey, what's going on, Sean? Think the Celtics should keep Springer after his recent games. Yeah, I know the reports are that they might have to move him for luxury tax reasons. To be honest with you, I think Jordan Walsh can give you the exact same stuff that Springer does. So if they had to move Springer, like I wouldn't like it because I like what Springer showed against the Clippers, but I think Jordan Walsh does the same thing. But appreciate you, Sean. Good question. I know a lot of Celtics fans have become attached to Springer over the last couple of days, but like I said, Jordan Walsh can do the same things that Jaden Springer can do. What's up, Damian? Jimmy might go to the Nets. Hey, send
Hey,
him there.
send him there. Send him to anywhere where he has an absolute no hopes of winning a championship.
Look, the Nets would do it. The Nets would be like, hey, you want Ben Simmons? We'll take Jimmy Butler if you take Ben Simmons off our hands. Because you know the two of them, if they
Exactly.
were in the locker room together, it'd take about 5 minutes before,
They start fighting.
yeah. Well, Butler starts fighting. We know Ben Simmons isn't trying to have that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's move on to NFL. Because we get about 15 minutes to Butler and Beal. I feel like that's enough for those two. I like Jordan Walsh out of Arkansas. Yes, I'm a big Jordan Walsh fan. So I think he can fill. He can do a lot what Springer's doing, and Missoula's been playing him kind of sparingly, but I think Missoula's probably going to start playing Jordan Walsh a little bit more because his shooting has developed as well. He seems more confident in his jump shot, which I like. Um, okay, so coaching carousel because we've had some interesting, I guess, developments since the last time that you and I were on.
Mm-hmm.
We already know, like, Vrabel, New England, who both of us know really well. He obviously coached your team, played for my team, so we both know. Adult in the room, no nonsense. Will, he'll run it his way.
And you're
Some of
not
the
gonna
others,
ask him stupid stuff.
yes. I mean, John already coming in with the question here. Were we shocked with the Raiders going with Pete Carroll? I understand they need some experience, but that was a shocker in my opinion. So I guess shock factor for you, Pete Carroll to the Raiders. How shocked were you?
5.
Okay.
Not really, because that's such a Raiders hire to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were thinking about it in a way of, let me get an experienced guy, get in here, set up the culture, make sure that we're straight, and then go get a younger guys. Mike Vrabel was the linebackers coach before he got the job at Tennessee.
Yep.
Um, what was I saying? Yeah,
Oh,
but
Pete Carroll establishing culture and bringing in somebody
yeah,
younger.
because he's 73 years old. He ain't gonna be there forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let him establish his culture. Hire somebody like minded that's younger
Mm-hmm.
and have it established and have it continue.
Yeah.
I get it. I get their thought process. Now, if it takes more than 2 years, I don't think that's gonna bode well. But
Yeah.
because Raiders are notorious,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I assume, like, with Pete Carroll, we'll see probably somebody from his staff that he hires that will go, that's probably the guy who will take over in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years. And so, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Look, Pete Carroll is a guy who came out, said he wanted the Bears job. So obviously there's that desire to still coach. And we know Pete Carroll's an offensive mind, which, well, first off, the Raiders need to find a quarterback, obviously. But,
Mm-hmm.
Pete Carroll can at least work with whoever they get in free agency and you would hope draft. Although I know a lot of people like the quarterback draft next year more so than this year, but I think they should at least draft one like the middle rounds as like a development guy who, if he works out and grows exponentially next year, then maybe the need for a quarterback next year is a little bit
They can
less.
have Will Levis.
Well, I guess that would be an option. Like if there's a young quarterback out there that maybe a team is on their last legs with that they could potentially trade for, then yes,
They can
they need
have
to
him.
they need to find a quarterback before they find any other position. Yes, and look, the Raiders have other needs, but the quarterback position is a dire need. Part of me thinks they're going to go with free agent route this year because, like I said, a
Draft
lot
one
of people
next
are
year.
looking at this quarterback class and they aren't necessarily in love with any of them. So the last thing you would want is for the Raiders to overdraft a guy they don't necessarily love, hoping that they turn into something. Like if you aren't sure about them, go somewhere else. Like trade back or draft another position of need. Like don't draft Carson Beck because you're like, well, Carson Beck could be this, but he also could be really bad. So if you're sure, then go ahead. All right.
Badass decision making.
Yes. Yeah. um. So we got Pete Carroll out the way. Although Damien did say he thought Pete Carroll was going to be in New Orleans. New Orleans
Now,
technically is the only job that's completely vacant, even though the Cowboys haven't hired anybody yet. But all reports are the Cowboys are leaning and basically about to announce Brian Schottenheimer as their new coach. Which, how do we go from Mike McCarthy, you can't talk to the Bears, to buy Mike McCarthy, to, you know what? Let's bring in Deion Sanders, to Brian Schottenheimer. I don't understand how that path, how they ended up down that path, but that's where they are. So, what do you think about the Cowboys seemingly about to hire Brian Schottenheimer?
this is what the hell they get when you wait 2 weeks after everybody else fires their coach. This is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
The Monday after the season ended, you knew who was going to get fired. Some people didn't even wait till the Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I wish the Patriots would have got Gerard Mayo on Monday instead of an hour after the game.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was some BS.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even let him compress instead of firing, and you just fired him.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I mean, Vrabel technically would have been the guy, but you know, Kraft made the um like
Vrabel wasn't
agreement.
even available last year.
Well, technically he was. It was just that Kraft made like an agreement a couple of years ago that Mayo would get a shot. So I mean, I guess you got to give him credit for standing by the agreement. But yeah, I agree with you. I would have given him more, but I also like the Vrabel hire, so I can't necessarily
I just
be
think that's a whole bunch of BS. And if
yes.
nothing else happened, like, look, you're not gonna like my opinion about that situation. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. Um,
I don't think Pete's the biggest Russ fan right now though.
He would not do that. And the one thing about New Orleans, because I know Aaron Glenn was in the running for New Orleans, and but they wouldn't let him pick his coaching staff and his GM.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans is gonna find out real quick. Your job is not attractive. You're in cap hell, and you will be in cap hell for at least next 2 to 3 seasons.
Yep.
You might want to stop trying to be end all be all
Mm-hmm.
and let these coaches have some flexibility.
Yep. No, absolutely. All right. Um, so also like looking at, I guess with the Saints, yes, like you said, cap situation stinks. The GM situation apparently is turning people away. But if you're the Saints, I guess leading into another job, the Jags had the same situation. A GM in place that people clearly didn't like, were
Mm-hmm.
pulling away from the job. They then wait, fire the GM, and what do you know? Liam Cohen all of a sudden wants the job again.
Now, how he did the Bucks on that was dirty
Yes,
and unprofessional, and I'm gonna go in on that later.
yes. Okay, there you go. There's a tease for you. Um, but seemingly the Jags got their guy, or at least one of them, because they wanted Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh said, "I'm not even going to fly down there. Don't waste my
He
time."
knew they was gonna waste their time.
Yeah. Which Robert Saleh goes back to his roots, 49ers defensive coordinator. That's a good move for him. It'll keep him kind of in the conversation. Maybe he'll jump back into the market next year. Um, but yeah, so
Joe
now
Brady should not want that job.
it'll depend on how desperate he wants a coaching job. Yeah, because I think if you're the Saints, you need to put out there that whoever you hire is gonna get at least 3 years, because you can't get a coach in there with their cap situation. And if they fall a little short or whatever your expectations are for next year, that you're like putting them on a hot seat or looking to fire them, I think that'd be crazy. So maybe with that, if you understand you're going to get 3 years, maybe it's not that terrible of a job because the division isn't great. So if you make some critical moves this offseason, lessen than cap hit, bring in whoever, if you show some improvement that second year, you could be a playoff team because of the division. And maybe that's what interests him. I don't know,
I'm staying in Buffalo.
it kind of seems like at this point that's probably who the Saints are waiting for, because we aren't hearing a thing about like them interviewing or anything like that. I think they're waiting for the Bills to lose to go get Joe Brady, probably roll out the red carpet and make it so that he can't refuse, and then just start the Joe Brady era. I can't think of who else they might be looking at. Now, there's also another name out there. Mike McCarthy's out there. He wanted the Bears job. The Cowboys did their thing to him. He didn't get the Bears job. He clearly wants
I'm
a
gonna
head
get on
coach.
Jerry ass about that again, cause I'm like,
Yeah, but he probably just wanted out. So at this point, it's like, yeah, you did whatever you did, but at least I'm out. Like, I can go to either the Saints. I could sit out a year and still probably have people want at least the opportunity to interview me next year when obviously jobs will open up again. So yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, John, thank you. I forgot about this. Kellen Moore was
he
supposed to
was just
be
in the building last year
but Kellen Moore was supposed to be front runner for the job, and then we got Brian Schottenheimer. So was Jerry thinking the Eagles were going to lose earlier and he'd have a shot at Kellen Moore, and now he doesn't want to wait for him? Like, I I just don't look Jerry. Maybe when he next does his appearance on his radio show, he might let us into why he went Schottenheimer. He couldn't wait
because
for
he didn't
Kellen
have
Moore.
no other options because he waited three, two, a week and a half to 2 weeks after
Yes.
Bieniemy's done being a coach in the NFL. Look,
Yeah. I mean,
his stint in Washington and what those players said about what he did in Washington ruined his career.
yes. And then going to UCLA, and UCLA didn't do that well. So
Yeah, UCLA did him dirty too.
yeah.
Going to paint all of that on him. He
Yes.
was there to assist. He's
Hmm.
not the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. The enemies.
Again,
Look.
John, you can't put all of that on him. He was there to be an assistant. He
Yeah.
was not an offensive coordinator. He is not helping with recruiting.
No.
We're not going to sit there and blame him for that. He went to UCLA as a favor to somebody who he thought he was a friend. And then they turned around and fired him just for trying to help him. Like he was the problem. They scapegoated him there. It's
Hmm.
not that. He's not the offensive coordinator.
Which I
If
ultimately
anybody
think.
should have got fired, it was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. But I ultimately think like the best thing for Bieniemy, he's gonna have to try to get an OC job back in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe he, calls one of these new coaches and goes, "Hey, look, I'm willing to be an OC. Like, just bring me in. Whether it is I mean, I don't know who he has connections with who just got jobs. That's the only thing. I'd have to like look into that to see where a landing spot would be for him. But um,
He
yeah,
coaches hard and people are too soft, and that's the problem.
right. Which oddly enough was you know something Flores had to deal with, as we saw with Tua before the season, talking about how he was. Yeah. So
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, oh, I'm gonna wait for final burn.
yeah. Let me see. What other coaching jobs? We talked about Carroll, talked about Vrabel, Cohen, Schottenheimer, Saints. Well, I guess Aaron Glenn, because look, seems like a lot of New York people don't like the hire. Probably because it's once again a defensive coach. How many defensive coaches are the Jets gonna continuously hire? I think Jets
They
fans are
don't
just
have an offense. So until you get an offense
yeah,
that's worth a damn, all you're gonna get stuck with is defensive coaches.
right. But I also think for Jets fans, it's like, how do we get an offense if we don't finally just try an offensive minded coach?
You don't have a quarterback.
Yes, that's also true. And they obviously have to figure that out, which I know I'm seeing like a lot of NFL insiders are really predicting that, Aaron Rodgers is just going to retire, which good. Um, but at least that frees them up to reset the quarterback position. I'm trying to see they draft. I guess where they're drafting, you're obviously not going to get Cam Ward. You're not going to get Shador. So you probably don't want to overdraft. I guess whoever they think might be the third best quarterback they could put themselves in line to get. But that obviously looks like a spot where they'll have to attack free agency to go get a
Mhm.
quarterback as well. I, I mean, look, Aaron Glenn, you have a defense to work with. Obviously, need to see who his offensive coordinator will be because that's going to be important as to what they do with that offense. But I mean, what do you think about Aaron Glenn choosing the Jets job?
That's a Jets hire.
Yeah,
I
former
mean,
Jet.
and they went the New England route and got a former player.
Yes.
Just say you want to be the Patriots without saying you want to be the Patriots.
Well, they wanted
Just
Vrabel.
say that.
They wanted Vrabel. They talked to Vrabel first, and Vrabel was like, I mean, that's cool and all, but clearly Vrabel wanted the New England job.
Yeah. He knew he was going to New England.
Mm-hmm.
Again, say you want to be the Patriots without saying you want to be the Patriots.
They always want to do. They always want to.
Um, I'm like it. I like it for their defense, and maybe he can. insert some culture into that locker room, a sense of leadership into that locker room. Stop
Hmm.
letting manipulative ass quarterbacks who don't do much throughout the game tear your team apart type coach.
Hmm.
I kind of like it, but again, the Jets offense has been the issue, not the defense.
Hmm.
Until last year where they just gave quit.
Hmm. So I know Thomas Brown's name has been floated out there as a potential OC in New York.
No.
Which Damien would know that name, and I'm sure he'll have a reaction here pretty shortly about that. But that's the word. I think there's some talk about Todd Haley getting in on the staff somewhere. Which tell me the last time you heard Todd Haley being mentioned in any type of coaching circle.
I would rather him go hire Eric Bieniemy than do any of that.
Yeah, the Jets are the new Detroit Lions, only with a Super Bowl. Well,
What was that?
exactly. I mean, Jets won that back when most of their fan base probably couldn't tell you.
I wasn't born. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
I could tell you that who won the Ravens won a Super Bowl the year I was born.
Hmm.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. But look, they probably well. No, I'm about to get into that, but we'll talk Baltimore in a little bit. And trust me, that conversation is going to get interesting. But okay, so I think that's every coaching hire. Yeah, because Jags Cohen. Yeah. All right. So
oh wait a minute,
yes,
wait a
but
freaking minute. In Houston, coach, if you're still in here,
yes.
I'm going to say something. How the hell does Bobby Slowick become such a hot name in one part of the 1 year, and now he's fired?
Mm-hmm.
I know dang well Cesario, Ryans, and company is not. They're not blaming the entire offensive shenanigans. Does Slowick teach Laramie Tunsil Big Butt how to block? No, he's not the OL coach.
Yeah.
Is he telling people like the whole offensive line has been terrible? Can he out coach injuries? I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't understand that one.
Nothing to work with.
Yeah.
And they still make the playoffs.
And played their two best games in the
In the
playoffs.
playoffs.
Yeah, someone's have to explain that one. He gets CJ Stroud's rookie year. After that year, everybody says this guy's going to be a head coach. Doesn't get a head coaching job. Decides to stay just like Ben Johnson did. The offense, yes, the offense was wildly frustrating to watch most of the season. I can agree with that. But as we just said, your two best games were in the playoffs. A lot of people didn't think you were going to win that first playoff game. You looked pretty good. And then the second game, early on, seemed like you were kind of up to going head to head with the Chiefs. And then, kicker started missing stuff. Momentum goes the other way, and you lose that game. And then with everything that went on, Slowick is the one being replaced for whatever reason. It almost seems like there has to be more to the story.
There's
Like,
more. I thoroughly believe. I'm not trying to get ahead of my horses there.
okay.
But D'Amico's not going to get another swing at offensive coordinator. If,
But it's like Slowick wasn't even based off the 2 years.
exactly.
I can't
That's
say he
such
was
a.
a bad one.
You forgot that the Houston Texans are a bad, poorly run organization. And this
That's,
is what poorly run organizations do,
that's also,
take
yeah.
it out on the wrong persons.
Yeah.
hence, hence, Amy Adams shrunk. I'm about tired of her
Mhm.
making all these goddamn decisions, and then you just want to go get on your plane to Houston. You don't want to get in front of a camera and talk about it. Lady, please.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, look, we've talked about previous weeks, minority coaches and all that not getting opportunities. Slowick is now in that where he hasn't gotten a fair opportunity. I would say. I think even with the minority coaches and how they are treated, I think a big problem as well is some of these organizations are way too impatient.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go into every season, like before every season, there might be three, four teams that you're like, I could see them winning a Super Bowl. Everybody else is kind of in the same boat. Like you're just trying to push to be further in front than
Relevant.
other people. So if you go into it thinking like if Houston's ownership was like, we look at last year, we're on the come up, we have to make the AFC title game. Well, I got to tell you, that's not realistic.
Mm-mm.
Like you're a team that you had the talent to make it there, sure, but that's not like a guarantee because you still have a young quarterback. So it's his second year. We see some quarterbacks have sophomore slumps. You have, I mean, looking at the course of the season, you had a wide receiver group that dealt with injuries. So that affected your quarterback in some instances. And you had a defense that I thought played okay at times and then played really well at times. Damian, I had a feeling
And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna
that
leave
this
it at that.
comment was
It's
coming.
not the Rooney Rule that's the issue. It's being done in maliciousness and bad intent. That's the issue. Once we stop that, the problem with the Rooney Rule gotta go. Let's move on.
Yes. All that is the reason why the rule was put in place because certain people weren't getting opportunities for an interview. The rule is allowing people to get interviews. And if you've ever gone for a job, you've told yourself, you give me an interview, I will wow you and make you hire me. Problem was they weren't getting that opportunity. That's the point of the rule. The rule is not going to force billionaire owners to hire anybody. It's just to put them in front of them. That's the only purpose of the rule. So I see the reason for the rule. I know every year it comes up, people say it's got to go, it's a joke and all this. It's actually doing what it was intended. We just need to get you just need more diversity at the top to then probably trickle down to more opportunities for, you know, those guys to get the actual coaching positions.
Now,
And Eric
Raheem
Glenn said,
Morris,
yeah,
like what John said, Raheem Morris, I'm not gonna be as sympathetic if he gets fired because he's had a head coaching tenure before.
yes, yeah. And was in the same organization that looked past you when they needed a coach and let you go somewhere else, and then you came back there.
Yeah,
So
and he
kind
was
of,
there for 28-3.
yeah,
He's had his shortcomings.
yeah,
And the Falcons hiring, what's that man name? Ulbrich.
yes, Jets.
That's such a freaking Falcons move. He was there for 28-3.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the message they're trying to send, but if they start 1-4, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
have them
And
flame out like they did this year. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So I feel, yeah, that's probably a good spot to go playoffs because, like I said, the coaching thing, everything, yeah, it's kind of a situation that comes up every year. The rule is obviously put in the spotlight, but it's not the rules problem. It's these ownerships that have been in place for far too long that need to kind of switch up their mentality.
Yeah.
And as Aaron Glenn said, unfortunately, a lot of minority coaches are defensive inclined, and it's obviously
And
the
they
era
need to
of
get into the offensive side of the field.
yes, especially more of them. Maybe now Thomas Brown's name is kind of being thrown around. Maybe he's a guy. We obviously talk about Bieniemy, but you know, Bieniemy for many reasons just hasn't gotten his chance. But you need more than two guys on that side of the ball entering the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we talked coaching decisions. We talked about Joe Brady, who's with the Bills, which then leads into the playoffs as we are down to the final four. But before we talk about the final four, we got to talk about this divisional round that we went through this past weekend to lead us to this point. Obviously, there's one game that we're going to save for last because you and I both have uh, our interest in that game, so we'll save that one for last. Let's start with how about Eagles Rams? Because I'm sure if you guys have seen, on the network and a lot of podcasts and all that throughout, a lot of Eagles fans are excited to be back into the NFC conference title game, but they definitely have some questions about the path there. Packers game they weren't great. Rams game it seemed like they were about to give it up at the end when Stafford
Right.
was driving them. Jalen Carter started wrecking everything late in the game, which led to the turnover on downs. You got Hurts, who I believe they say is going to wear a knee brace on Sunday. So if his mobility is limited, what
Oh
does that
boy.
do? And their best offensive player is Saquon Barkley, who apparently is unstoppable right now. So when you look at the Eagles and what they did to the Rams, like what'd you think of their performance?
Defensively, A+.
Okay.
And then you got the end of the game happen, and then they clamp back down.
Yeah.
Offensively, outside of Saquon, C. Consistently move the ball down the field when they're not using Saquon
Mm-hmm.
or when they're not running. I'm like AJ drops passes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Smitty no shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, the Eagles are a confusing team. I think they should be able to win this upcoming game,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, the Commanders. I don't know what Philly we're gonna get.
And I think that's a
Are
fair
we gonna
reaction.
get good Philly? Are we gonna get Philly that's emotionally unstable, wants to fight each other on the sidelines, and a childish ass Nick Sirianni showing up when the lights get brightest?
Mm-hmm.
Which Philly are we gonna get?
Yeah. I think it's a fair question because I don't know which one we're gonna get.
And they couldn't capitalize off of it for most of the game.
Yeah. Which obviously we'll save our picks for that game for a little bit when we get into that. Um, yeah. So congrats to the Eagles for doing that and getting that job done. Let's look at the other side. The Commanders head to Detroit. You'll face the team that's been sitting on a bye. That raucous crowd, that the energy that Detroit's kind of had for a couple of seasons. The Commanders go in there with a rookie quarterback and just put one on Detroit. You know, they they turned over Jared Goff several times. Jared Goff had another game where he was careless with the football, and
Mm-hmm.
against Washington, because Washington just seems like they're a young team in terms of the quarterback, but they have some veterans around, and Kingsbury, who's been there, done that with quarterbacks as a head coach and OC before. Seems like he's just put Jaden Daniels in the perfect position. Dan Quinn, I don't think either one of us was a fan of the selection of Dan Quinn to Washington, but you have to give them a lot of credit for where they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Lions, obviously, Lions fans are
Distraught.
disappointed. They're disappointed by the team going out this way. And now that we've seen also with Glenn gone, Ben Johnson gone, Terrell Johnson's gone, like a bunch of coaches are being plucked from their staff. Dan Campbell has some work to do in the offseason.
Mm-hmm. I
Do
think
you,
the Lions
oh,
fans
go
are
ahead.
upset because
Mm-hmm.
they feel like the team just wasted a window.
Yes, I think that's going to be my question. Where are you at with their window?
Because they have a whole lot of talent.
Yes.
It's a jar.
Okay. I mean, hey, it's still an opportunity. Now,
Like
is golf holding them back?
at this point, I mean, but we could golf in a regular season through for 5 picks and they won.
Yes. Oddly enough, a Texans team that, yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, what do you do with golf?
It's time to start looking at Hendon Hooker.
Okay. I'm a big
It is
Hendon Hooker guy.
time
Yeah.
to see what he got. Because golf is a good regular season quarterback. Postseason, eh.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
Sometimes golf isn't all that.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, they had a lot of guys who were missing defensively. We understand that. So you'll get a lot of those guys back. But you can't have Goff who like Goff's whole thing was ball security, won't take a lot of risks, very careful with the ball. And then he has these moments where he just gets out of control and it's like he'll throw one interception, one will turn into three, three will turn into five.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, yeah, and it's
Quickly.
just like, is he good enough to win one? Because he got there with the Rams, they lost, which ultimately seemed like that was the end of his time with the Rams. And now he's with the Lions. He's been part of this turnaround for the Lions. But now the questions are still there. Can he take you to and win a Super Bowl? Is he good enough to do so?
Last year it was Dan Campbell that stopped him from getting to a Super
Yes.
Bowl. This year it was Jared Goff and some
Mm-hmm.
injuries. If they give him another year, they'll know their
Yeah.
answer.
Okay. So obviously, once again, we'll talk about the Commanders here shortly, as we will look forward to Championship Sunday, and we'll both give our picks on the games. Let's go AFC now. The same Texans we talked about, which ultimately turned into Slowick's last time calling plays and being the OC, go up against the Chiefs. Looked good to start. Then the wheels started falling off, and the Chiefs kind of showed, why they are back-to-back champs. Took over, won the game, and moving on. Once again, talk about them in a little bit. So for the Texans, I mean, we came on here week in and week out, and we talked about not impressed with the Texans. Actually, kind of disappointed in how they played this year. But the fact that their two best
Yeah.
games were in the playoffs, would you be encouraged going into next season, knowing,
No, because they fired the offensive coordinator.
yeah,
No.
yeah,
What you want to know the best way to ruin a quarterback? Keep giving him coaches year in and year out.
that is fair. Yes.
Jalen Hurts probably hasn't developed as fast as we want him to see when it comes to decision making and blitz pickup because people keep plucking Philly's
Mm-hmm.
coaches or they keep firing Philly's coaches.
Yeah.
Who you pair up with your quarterback matters. And if you look like you had something with Slowick and Stroud, The hell you doing firing them after 2 years? This is the important part of a young quarterback's
Mm-hmm.
development. And they just made us screwed it up.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I mean, look, you're looking at Nico Collins, who I think burst onto the scene this year, and a lot of people started recognizing how good he is. Tank Dell, unfortunately, we'll need to see him when he's actually back on the field to see where he is. I mean, that injury didn't look good on TV. You read like what ended up happening, didn't sound good, but well, we'll have to see Tank Dell once he's back in the field. Um, Stephon Diggs, a lot was made of them going out and getting him. Ultimately, he wasn't, yeah,
Tore
wasn't
ACL.
around when you probably needed him. Um, what's going on? I'm gonna guess that's Haseen Terrell. Says, "Hey there, guys, Happy New Year." I mean, since your first time in, January 24th, some people might be like still saying Happy New Year, but we'll take it. Happy New Year to you as well. Um, so yeah, I think Houston's in an interesting position because I will want to see, since they did fire Bobby Slowick, who they're going to tab for the next OC. If it is a Thomas Brown, um, okay, you know, what if we talk about Eric Bieniemy? Let's say Eric Bieniemy just randomly popped up and was their OC. Not saying that's going to happen. I don't think there's any rumors of that, but it's just like now because you moved on from Slowick, like you better get probably a more experienced OC to come in, get CJ
Mm-hmm.
Stroud to look more like his rookie season than his second season. What's going on, Bella? And then, yeah, maybe you're back in this position again next year. We'll see, but definitely a surprising move. It makes you seem like they should have a plan in place on who to replace them with. So I guess we'll see how that turns out uh, whenever that news comes out. Because I will be watching to see
They
who
are
they
dumb.
announce.
They are dumb.
It definitely seems like a weird move to make,
This,
but they did it. So now they're here. All right. So the game that obviously we saved for last for a reason. The Ravens head up to Orchard Park, face off against the Bills in the matchup of the top two MVP candidates. Although the MVP award is a regular season award, yes, but still for the optics. It was the styling of Lamar Jackson, great statistical season versus Josh Allen taking a team that probably shouldn't have been here, but he had them in this position in the divisional round. It was almost a game of two halves. The Bills, you would say, were the better team in the first half. You'd say the Ravens were the better team in the second half. But because of a couple of instances, surrounding Mark Andrews, the Ravens come up short. And now they're in an off season where once again they had Super Bowl aspirations. They once again have a quarterback that's in the MVP conversation. They had a dynamic running back that they got in the offseason. They had a defense that I got to remember where they finished statistically, but I think was still uh, a good defense. And yet again, not a Super Bowl team. So, where did it all go wrong for the Baltimore Ravens this year?
they stopped running the damn
Yes.
ball with a running back.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it went wrong. And I don't want to hear about the thing about that game is as soon as Lamar threw fumbled, because the fumble came after the pick, right?
Yeah.
Or was the fumble first?
I'll look it up. I think it was pick first, then fumble.
Yeah. I said I knew they was gonna lose. And getting ready to start pressing, and then palms get sweaty, Folks forget how to catch passes
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to overcompensate for your mistakes. And it wasn't just on Lamar. Harbaugh made his mistakes. Mark Andrews made two costly ones. But for all the Lamar got us out of a hole. Well, who the hell put you in it in the first place? Thing about it is Lamar always turns the damn ball over in the playoffs. This is nothing new. Or high sales on passes, undercuts a pass there too.
Mm-hmm. So just to let you know, the interception was in the first quarter. The fumble was in the fourth quarter. For some reason, I thought the fumble was in the first half too. It was in the
Well,
fourth
you
quarter.
can't turn the ball over twice
Yes.
and think,
Wait, hold on. The fourth quarter fumble was the Mark Andrews fumble. That's my fault.
or fumble was in the first half though.
Yes. Trying to see where it happened. Either way. Yeah. Yeah, they were in the first half. Yeah. I think the fumble was the second quarter.
The BS that they did when Derrick Henry ran the ball down the field and they got all the way to the freaking two.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of giving the ball off to Derrick Henry three freaking times, you do that BS.
Yep.
Again, you don't do that all year. But you wait till the playoff. I'm okay. I'm okay. Look, I'm okay. You wait until get all cute. And now look, you're sitting at home cute in your pajamas in Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, the Ravens are known for this. They usually get to the playoffs, and in some way, shape, or form,
Bella's not a fan of the Ravens either.
yeah, clearly they mess it up. And I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, in this case, you can't put everything on Lamar because his coaching staff didn't help him. His coaching staff didn't help him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Saquon Barkley got 26 carries.
Yep.
Derrick Henry got 16. And that's why they freaking lost. Yes, it's time for the Ravens to let go of freaking Harbaugh. It's been time. I've been saying it. David even got me started because even though it's the Ravens and they're in the AFC North and they don't fire coaches like that, Harbaugh has needed to go the past 5 years. Getting all cute.
Mm-hmm.
And it costs his team the most when it matters the most. So you know what the hell you're doing through 18 games. But in the playoffs, you coach like a doofus. And then they're always getting undisciplined. I get it. Be physical. But your players, when they get down 2 scores, my God,
Mm-hmm.
do they not know how to control themselves?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a reason. Look, there's a reason why I find it difficult to necessarily pick the Ravens when it comes to the playoffs. Like,
It's
do you want to
because
pick
of
them to win
Harbaugh.
the AFC North fine, you can do that, all that, yeah. But there's always a game, a half, or something that comes in these postseason games where they just make the absolute wrong decision. I agree
And
with
there's
you.
cracks that you see it throughout the regular season.
Yeah. But it's just like the Bills obviously schemed the first half to stop Derrick Henry. And I get that. If you wanted to throw the ball in the first half because they were stopping him, fine. But like you said, that drive where Derrick Henry was starting to find openings, get big chunks of yards, at that moment I was watching, I was like, oh, see, Buffalo's about to give it up because now you just run Derrick Henry against the defense that's always just going to get more tired as the game goes on. But they did it on that drive, and then it was almost like you didn't see Derrick Henry again. He'd be out there on first down for them to run like play action. Then he's off on the sideline, and here comes Justice Hill. And then they run second, third down, if it's a field goal, punt, or whatever, and then Derrick Henry comes back out the next drive, first down. And it's just like you said, they once again outsmarted themselves. And you have to wonder, is that a Harbaugh thing? Is it the OC getting direction, or I just don't know. Is it that Baltimore is so focused on Lamar Jackson conversations around the NFL and wanting him to be the best quarterback in the league that they get into these playoffs and go, you know what? We're going to turn Lamar into Tom Brady. We're going to turn Lamar into Matt Stafford, Pat Mahomes, or something when he's not that guy. Like you look
2019.
across, yeah, like you look across the field. Josh Allen was fine taking a back seat and allowing his team to do what they had to do. Just get the win. I don't care how you do it. Like they used James Cook at times. He ran the ball himself at times. He made a couple of passes here or there. The defense did what they had to do, and they got the win. And then the fact that coming out of the game, people talking about, Josh Allen didn't have a great game. Lamar had a better
He didn't
game and
need
all that
to.
stuff. Josh Allen won. That means he won in the grand scheme of things. So yeah,
With as
Baltimore's
well
at
as
home
Lamar
again.
played in the second half, and
He
Josh
played just
Allen
as
did
bad in the
not
first.
need to play necessarily great to beat you, what's the problem? The Ravens situation is different from the Steelers. The Steelers haven't
Yes.
had a quarterback in at least 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going back to um the end of
Here's a
Ben
question.
Roethlisberger.
Here's a question from Sean. Ravens championship window closing?
Absolutely, it is. Because look, they're not going to be able to keep everything.
Yeah, they have some big decisions to make
They
over the
got some
next
big
couple off
decisions to make.
seasons. Yep.
They have really big decisions to make. They don't have a lot of money to make them.
Yep. Yeah. Next couple off seasons, it's
Like you're
sorry,
getting him from cheap now.
mm-hmm.
His next contract is not going to be cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. Next couple off seasons, you have to make decisions on Ronnie Stanley, Derrick Henry, Kyle Hamilton, uh, I think Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey. Like there are guys who have been key names for this stretch that you're now gonna have to lose some, you have to replace some. I mean, I don't know if necessarily they've like recovered from the Mike McDonald loss as the DC. Cause I thought their defense was good, but it wasn't as good as it
Their
was last
defense was
year.
vulnerable. We can
Right.
go ahead and lie and stop lying.
Right.
That defense. Oh, breaking news! Brian Schottenheimer,
So he's been
coach
officially
of the
named.
Cowboys.
Okay. Well, take that job off the board. Damien wants Roquan back in Chicago. Okay.
Like Chicago Roquan a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
especially when he needed help in the middle of the field and started getting frustrated.
But I feel like what we learned was Mike McDonald schemed up front better than I can't remember who the DC was this year, but and by the
Zach Orr.
yes, Zach Orr, thank you. By the front seven not being as down as they were last year, exposed a lot of the warts on the back end outside of Kyle Hamilton. Because we have to say, we were both
And
fans
Kyle
of
Van
Kyle
Noy.
Hamilton. Everybody else in that secondary, like Tre'Davious White. Well, Wiggins is young. I'm willing to give Wiggins a pass. But Tre'Davious White, Marlon Humphrey, Stevens, those guys, like either the scheme needs to change with them or you got to start replacing some of them, especially like Humphrey. A lot of times where the Ravens looked bad in the passing game,
It's because of him.
Humphrey was the guy trailing on a lot of receivers and couldn't keep up.
Because he got burnt all the time.
Yes,
Now,
I think like
you
the
know I'm talking.
because the image from the Buffalo game, I think he was in coverage against. It might have been like James Cook. No, not Cook. Was it Mac Hollins or somebody was
And
going
got
across?
burnt.
Yeah, he was going across the middle, and all you saw was Humphrey like reaching out. It might have been actually James Cook because he was reaching out like for their braids to try to stop them. That's the only thing he could reach. And I'm like, that was kind of an occurrence a lot throughout the season. Damien also says, feel bad for Justin Tucker more than I do for Lamar. Well,
I
yeah.
don't feel bad for now, none of them.
I feel bad for Mark Andrews. The way that they have talked that man after the game like he wasn't the guy all these years that he's been in Baltimore. A little bit short sighted for me. I get it, you get emotional right after the game, but to the extent that Ravens fans took it with Mark Andrews, no, I wasn't cool with that. And shout out to Buffalo. We know Bills Mafia loading up on donations to Mark Andrews' charity.
So Ravens fans were giving him death threats.
Yeah. Girlfriend saying like they had to scrub social media and all this kind of stuff. Like it's not that serious. I get it. Like you want your team to win, but let's be real. It yeah, you gotta let it go. At the end of the day,
Get a life.
yes. As I say, go touch grass.
Go touch some grass.
Like, I mean, look, yeah, you're like I said. Once the game hits zeros, like you're allowed to be frustrated for a few minutes, but then you just got to brush it off because you sending death threats doesn't change the outcome of the game. You still lost. So, all right. Now that we've gone through divisional round, we got to look at championship Sunday. So we got two games this week. I forgot to get the graphic up for our standings. I'll do that later. Been a crazy week, but let's start NFC. Then we'll do AFC last. I think AFC might be the bigger game of the two, but I think don't sleep on the NFC game. So you have the Eagles versus the Commanders. Battle of NFC East teams for the third time this year.
Mm-hmm.
We have an Eagles team. I said it looks like Jalen Hurts is progressing, is what last thing I see here. But he may wear the knee brace. But obviously, you're going to have to stop Saquon Barkley. Can the Commanders do that? We'll have to see. On the other side, can the Eagles front seven put pressure on Jaden Daniels now that we know that Cosme, the right guard, is out? So obviously, that's going to be a part of the line that they can attack. So who has the advantage in this one? Who do you think wins it and will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks?
The Eagles have the advantage, but they also have the disadvantage of having Nick Sirianni. Okay. That's why I asked if there's going to be a punt.
Mm-hmm.
Stop throwing your toys off while I'm trying to speak.
So
Quit being a menace.
Are you saying you would take Quinn over Sirianni right now?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. Not saying it's right or wrong.
Right. But knowing that Cosme is going to be out,
mm-hmm.
In time, Philly's gonna get in its own way.
Okay.
Cause I kind of want to pick the Commanders.
Okay. So John says if the Eagles do not come out and get a 14-point jump, and if it's close and Washington's got the ball in the last 2 minutes in a one possession game, give me, well, obviously saying give me the Commanders over the Eagles. So I guess he's speaking to Washington's ability to come back, which they did a lot this season. So he's got Commanders, Bills. Okay. John's on record. What's the weather going to be like in Philly?
I don't think the Commanders are gonna be phased by Philly weather. They play in Washington D.C.,
Yes.
so it's gonna be cold anywhere over there. Anywhere you go. Well, it's cold now, and I'm in Georgia, so cold
I mean,
enough.
I guess my only thing would be wondering if Sean's getting at if the weather may force them to just force feed Saquon.
But will that defensive line take that? Yes, they're veterans,
Mm-hmm.
but they know how to stop the run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And look, Dan Quinn, he had defenses in with the Cowboys and everything like that. Like he can
He's
scheme
faced
up.
this Philly team.
Yes.
Maybe not with Saquon. Well, yes, he has. He's faced them with Saquon. He faced them this year. He beat them 3 weeks ago. But people
But
like to go at,
he faced Saquon when he was the clear offensive weapon with the Giants.
yeah. So Dan Quinn knows how to. He's gonna let his experience teach him something.
Okay, it looks like the weather's gonna be 38 degrees. So
Enough.
yeah.
Give me the Commanders by a touchdown.
Okay. Commanders by a touchdown. Let me write that down. Um. Okay. So
A part of me is saying that because I like to see Eagles fans melt down.
I mean, they are a fan base that, yeah.
They're entertaining when when they have meltdowns.
Mm-hmm. I just want to see. I know early in the week the line was like Eagles -6. Okay, so the line hasn't moved. Okay, I just want to know if one team kind of swayed anything either way. So you have the Commanders by a touchdown. I also have the Commanders. I'm going to say Damien has Washington by 3, so a field goal. I I think in my mind, John, you've kind of read where I'm going with this. I think this game's going to come down to possibly like 26-23. Eagles have the lead. Jaden Daniels gets the ball, and everybody's going to be wondering, can the rookie pull it off with a late game, drive to go down, get obviously a field goal to tie or a touchdown to win it. And I just have this weird feeling with this Commanders team that Jaden Daniels is going to rise to that occasion,
Mm-hmm.
is going to go down the field, get him a touchdown, with the Eagles then not being able to answer in enough time. And I could see this being 30-26 Commanders. So I got the Commanders as well. John has 33-28 Washington. All right. So we both got Commanders. Let's look at the AFC now. We have Bills, Chiefs. As I said, Chiefs. We know their road here. They're trying to win the 3 Super Bowls in a row. Buffalo. I guess the 95% of the country, Buffalo is now the last hope to stand in the Chiefs' way of making it back to the Super Bowl. And oh, hold on, Sean said that would be crazy. I hope the Rook pulls it off. It would be a moment in Jaden Daniels' career early on. But yeah,
Nick
so
Sirianni would not be allowed back in the city of Philadelphia.
I know, yes, like Philly fans would absolutely have a meltdown if that were to happen. But Hey, we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, so on the AFC side, we have the Bills who beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but the Bills have done that before, have
Hmm.
come up short when they've met them in the playoffs. Last time we saw Bills Chiefs, obviously, Josh Allen did all he could to win the game. Unfortunately, he left 13 seconds, and Mahomes, with his magic and that defense, ended up pulling that game out. So, looking at this one, knowing what we know about Josh Allen, his maturation this year, the Chiefs not being dominant, obviously, but still winning games. Like, I don't care about how dominant they have or haven't been, they're still winning. Can Josh Allen finally break through, take down Mahomes in the postseason, and finally make a Super Bowl?
Yes,
Okay.
he's grown up. And that 13 seconds, I promise you, it haunts him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're gonna use the Ravens as like target. They use the Ravens as like a little practice run
Mm-hmm.
on how to stay poised when things don't go right,
Mm-hmm.
especially versus the Chiefs, because yeah,
Oh, okay.
before I'll get another Super Bowl appearance. I'm tired.
I mean, look, I will say my motivation picking the Bills. Like, yeah, I'm not necessarily tired of the Chiefs. I think it would be a little hypocritical for me to say that I'm tired of the Chiefs while being a Patriots fan and knowing how many
You
people
don't get to
were
say you're
tired.
tired of anybody. I do.
Well, I'm saying, like, it'd be hypocritical of me to be like, I'm tired of Mahomes when people were tired of Brady, and I had to sit
Brady,
here and
yep.
go, why would you be tired of Brady? So I can't necessarily do that. I just think Josh Allen has treated this whole season as, I'm going to show that I don't need Stephon Diggs. People questioned whether I could still be a great quarterback when you take my number one wide receiver away. He won the AFC East, won the two seed, which gave them obviously home games so far. Now this won't be on the road, but he's shown that he can cut down on the bad decisions, cut down on the arm punts that he was so famous for over the previous seasons in his career. He played Baltimore as we just talked about. He wasn't the main story, but he also didn't do anything to cost Buffalo points, which ultimately led them to the win later in the game. So I feel like as long as he sticks to what he's done all season, they will be fine.
Hmm.
The only worry I have in the back of my mind is he gets too anxious in this matchup because he knows the Super Bowl is right there within his grasp and starts forcing it again. And with Spagnolo and the Chiefs, you make mistakes, they will take advantage. The same way, if you play mistake free football, the Chiefs will give you an opening to take control of the game against them. Because we've seen it several times this regular season. We just also see a bunch of teams fold in that position.
And blame the refs.
Yes. Which I don't want to hear about the refs either after the game if the Chiefs were to win. But I am going to take the Bills. John put up Bills 24-17. I believe on sideline to sideline, I said Bills 24-23. So I'm going to stick to that. I don't know, maybe it's a Tyler Bass field goal or it's like 23-17. I feel like I keep coming with the same scenario 23-17. Chiefs, Josh Allen has the ball, which once again would be a big moment for his career. I think he leads them on a drive to get them the win. Or it's like I said, it's either a Bass game winning field goal or something like that. But I think this is the time for Buffalo to get it done.
I think it's gonna be 30 to 21.
Okay. So you're giving the Bills like a somewhat convincing win. I like it. Okay. So you got the Bills by 9. I got them by 1. All right. Um so we both have Commanders Bills in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, which obviously
And then one of them. None one of us had the Commanders in the Super Bowl in our bracket at the beginning of the year. Nobody
No,
had the Commanders in the playoffs.
no, no. I know I didn't. I had them on the list of teams because I think in the NFC, once I got to the 7 seed, I was just kicking around a bunch of names, and I did. I think I had Washington within that group. Didn't pick them though. Buffalo, I picked them as a wild card team, but once we got to the playoffs, Buffalo was my Super Bowl representative from the AFC. So, like I said, that's why I'm kind of sticking with them all the way through. But all right, so look, that's the playoffs. We'll obviously next week we'll talk Championship Sunday. The week after we'll then talk Super Bowl. But now we gotta get to our favorite segment, the final segment of the episode, Final Burn. Which look, if you because we've done Final Burn, it was like the third edition of it or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Jory, you guys know our shows usually Jory gets a rant or two in there. Now she kind of holds back for Final Burn, where she can just go completely off on whoever she wanted to. Um, so that's kind of how we end the show. Like we each get our opportunity to rant on one topic or a couple, and as usual, let Jory go first with this one. So, where are you going with your Final Burn?
These unprofessional ass coaches.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm offering you something and you don't communicate with, offers rescinded, and I'm gonna fire you. I'm gonna block you. That was some bush league stuff. Um, so mad because I'm like, do the employers? I get it. I get it when it comes to coaching because sometimes these owners just fire people at will.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, did Todd Bowles really deserve that? No.
No.
Did Todd Bowles deserve that? For you to renege on your word in in Jacksonville. Because you just don't do business like that. It's not just sports business. It's just about life business in general. Certain things you just don't operate like. Especially when it comes to your place of employment. You have to be bigger than certain stuff. Because if you're not, if things don't work well there, you think, do you think that Jags, the other teams aren't going to look at that? Line your ass up. 2 weeks after everybody else fires their coach to fire the coach, to fire your coach or let him go. And then you did some BS maneuver. I don't. Now, if I said I didn't give a damn, Damien, I'd be cold, right? That has nothing to do with football. That has absolutely nothing to do with football.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
give. That
Yes.
has nothing to do with
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
That's
Even if
irrelevant.
that's the situation, like you still have to be
You have to
Like,
be professional.
yes,
I've
yeah.
been professional in plenty of situations. I've had wrecks, I've had nervous meltdowns, I've had stupid stuff happen to me all the time, and I've remained professional. Liam Cohen does not get a pass because your son is hospitalized. I'm sorry. I've been in the hospital myself. I've been hospitalized myself. Pick up your drawers, man the hell up, and handle yourself like an honorable man. That BS right there was not honorable. And if it don't work out in Jacksonville, I hope he never gets a job. You don't do that. Go ghost on your employer. I get it,
Hmm.
but you should have said, well, the job is still open at Jacksonville and they fired a GM, so I may or may not look at it. What the hell is wrong with a little bit of communication? Liam's son being in Jacksonville has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I hope he fails in Jacksonville. Nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with his abject lack of professionalism. And I'm getting tired of that crap. And it's not just in football. It's in society, period. An abject lack of professionalism. I'm tired of it. Treat people how you want to be treated. He waited 2 weeks to fire everybody, to fire McCarthy. He did some BS to keep him from getting the Bears job, even though one could say the Bears were going Ben Johnson anyway.
Yes.
But you stopped him from interviewing when he could have interviewed and got a premier wrong on the ladder or whatnot. UPOS. Jerry, go to hell. And I hope you go expeditiously. You ruined every bit of continuity by doing dumb, baseless, old C9 BS. You ruin it. So you're gonna wait till Michael Parsons is out of guaranteed money, period, for you to get him done? You're not gonna be able to afford anything else. Now you just set your franchise back at least the past 6 years doing that. Karma. Because they're gonna stink. Schottenheimer is not a good coach. And Ravens fans, I thought I was done with them earlier. Absolutely not. Lamar Jackson ass kissers who wants to glaze Lamar for everything and think that he's not at fault for nothing. Oh, well, who the hell put him in there in the first place? Him and Harbaugh. And I don't even think it was him that got them out of that hole. It was Derek. Maybe I'm a Ravens hater, but it was literally once they started moving the ball down the field with Derrick Henry again, it started becoming easier for Lamar. And then they started messing it up. And then they stopped playing him in total. He barely touched the football in the fourth quarter. That's how the hell you lose games. Lamar this, Lamar that, Lamar can do no wrong. Da 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 da. Lamar can hold his damn self accountable, and y'all ass kissers can't hold him accountable. What?
Hmm.
Frank, not being able to hold the ball, the turnovers. He knows that in the past few postseasons, he stunk it up. He knows he has in the capacity to do too much. He knows that. Again, why isn't it getting it fixed? My team has the number one pick and money to sign our draft class. The Ravens are going to be picking damn near last and don't have a lot of cap space and have a lot of decisions to make. Don't sit here and tell me I got to worry about your own team. I'm not worrying about them until April. They've made enough gray hairs sprout from my head from me cussing them out and worrying about them. I'm
Mhm.
not worried about what they do right now. I'm glad they hit on the GM. Worry about your own team. Stop. I want people in the world of sports debates to stop using them stupid ass gotcha phrases. Watch the tape. Rants about my freaking team all freaking season. Who get all defensive and all sensitive if you say anything critical about Lamar. And rah. They are. I'm like, I'm telling you, Harbaugh's the issue. But don't nobody want to listen to me though. I need to pay attention to my own team.
Yeah. Which I mean, yeah, for John's comment, it's like the only reason why, especially like Jory and I have talked about Harbaugh, is because Ravens fans love pointing at Tomlin, they love pointing at Zach Taylor, they love
They
pointing
even
at
on Stefanski's butt.
yeah, they point at Kevin Stefanski and they refuse to even want to have the conversation about Harbaugh. That's why we kind of discuss Harbaugh pretty often. Because especially Tomlin, if you're going to point at Tomlin, Harbaugh's been in Baltimore about the same time. So I feel like the conversation can happen. Like if you feel like Harbaugh has done enough to probably I guess not warrant the conversation, that's fine. We're not saying Harbaugh needs to be fired. We're just saying the conversation can happen.
No, I'm saying he needs to go.
Okay. Well, I mean, look. Okay, so yes, you're coming with Harbaugh needs to go. I think our thing once again is like Ravens fans won't even talk about putting Harbaugh in the hot seat.
Oh
Like
yeah,
they
because they're gonna blame Monken like they blamed Greg Roman, and it was this and this fault, and it was Marlon Humphrey fault. It was
we don't
if
have
the
wide
offensive
receivers.
line,
Yeah.
it was Taylor Swift fault.
Yes.
Give me a freaking break.
Yeah. So that's the only reason why we discuss Harbaugh. Um, Damien says Ravens and 49ers fans are the same people. Neither of them want to blame the coaches. I mean, we've had conversations about Shanahan on here. So we don't necessarily like we look, Jory and I try to keep it like real and 100 with everybody. So yes, Damien, you were absolutely right. You know, Shanahan is
Shanna
a guy
scam.
that yeah, Shanahan's a guy who should be discussed, especially if next season the 49ers fall short once again. Yes, the discussion can happen. And the crazy thing is, we could talk Shanahan, and Ravens fans would jump into that conversation.
Yep.
But you talk Harbaugh, they automatically pull away. That's the only place we're going with that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not Harbaugh's fault. It's your fault.
yeah,
If they could find a way of blaming Jesus without it being blasphemous, they would.
right. Yeah.
They blame a clothes. They were like, well, they lost because Lamar's pants is too big.
Mm, hey, that's their fan base. But I guess did you get it all out? Was that your
Yes.
word? Okay. So for me, which it's gonna be tough to follow that. Not gonna lie, that was a good one. I'm gonna take it to a sport we don't necessarily cover a lot on here, but I do know. Talking about baseball, but I know Joe. I know you're learning the game and everything, and becoming more of a baseball watcher. I am a Red Sox fan, so I do watch it. They just had the Hall of Fame voting, and baseball is that sport that loves to act like they're holier than thou, like they're the most pure sport out there. And yet, I guess, few years we get Hall of Fame voting, we look at it, and we see something that just doesn't work. Like the fact that this year, Ichiro gets in. I think most people would say if you're going to have a unanimous choice, Ichiro's probably it. A guy who had over 4,000 hits between MLB and over in Japan.
Because somebody voted against him, and he was like, ah.
Yes, one guy, clearly trying to prove a point, decided not to vote for Ichiro, keeping him a vote short of unanimous. And like I said, you look at Ichiro, he had every tool in the toolbox. He could defend. He was a great outfielder. He had a cannon for an arm. He could hit. He could hit for power. He just didn't, because if you look at his like Japanese stats, like he was more of a power hitter over there than here. But he got on base. He could steal bases. Like he could do it all. Like if you needed him to, he could pitch for you because he actually had a pretty decent arm on the mound. So when I looked at the class, like he was a no doubt Hall of Famer to me. And when we get the voting, like at first nobody knows who voted for who. And, a lot of people say that's to keep them safe because if they, do something like this, they'll get kind of the Mark Andrews treatment where they get the threats and everything like that.
Well,
But I
stop
think
them from doing some BS like that.
exactly that's where like my point is like I think for situations like this, to stop these narrative driven, like these agenda driven votes, you kind of have to start putting them out there. And yes, unfortunately, you might get some of the threats and everything like that. But if they're allowed to hide behind anonymity,
You're
yeah,
gonna keep doing
they're
it.
not going to have a problem doing stuff like this because they know nobody's going to find out. They'll go into work the next day and they'll just get to keep powering on. But if you put the name out there, I bet you they'll think more about the vote. Or for this one person, I'm not going to say like he's an absolute idiot, because if he has a valid reason for it, I would love to hear from the voter as to why kept Ichiro off his ballot. But if he
Oh, he
comes out,
kept him off the ballot in total.
yeah, I think he just didn't vote for Ichiro. So that's how Ichiro came up a vote short of unanimous.
Someone should
And
have leaked that.
yes, I feel the same way, because it's like when it comes to something like this, being a unanimous choice is a big deal. Like that's something that not everybody gets. That's usually set aside for like the true greats in your sport. And Ichiro was a great, even though, like I said, he had to split his time between the MLB and uh, Japan, but he was one of the best players in the league when he played. Like, there's no doubt about it. So I
Somebody should have leaked that. Y'all leak everything else.
exactly. And with that, like I said, the voters, they need to do better. These baseball writers, like, stop acting like your game is so pure. Because look, we had the steroid era, your sport.
They had the crack era.
I mean, they had a bunch of like dark times in their sport. They had like what the cheating scandals from back in. I mean, it was like way back then, but it's like it's a part of their history.
They just had a cheating scandal not that long ago.
Yep, the Astros, like baseball's basically surrounded by scandals.
Scandals.
It's a part of their sport, and they love to just sit behind their numbers and everything like that when they have a lot of blemishes on their record. So I'm a need for them to do something with these writers and yeah, start releasing the names so we know kind of who to question with their decision. And if it's not agenda driven, the writer should be fine explaining their point. But if they don't have a valid reason and are just going to go up there and just talk in circles, then
Mm-hmm.
I think the punishment should be whether you give them like a warning or something.
No,
Just
you lose your vote.
yeah, take their voting access away, give it to somebody else. I think it's just that simple. So,
I don't even give them a warning. If I, because these other players don't get another chance to get in the Hall of Fame that they screwed,
mhm. Yeah,
and
because
they
some
don't get
guys,
another chance to get in unanimous.
I mean, David said Barry Bonds not being in the Hall of Fame is still crazy. And look, that whole steroid era is where baseball loses me a lot of times because Barry
Barry
Bonds was
was good
fighting.
without the steroids. What are you?
He absolutely wasn't, but Barry had an ego. Mark McGuire
And
and
he
Sammy
decided
Sosa
to juice
put a
up.
lot of yeah, so he decided to join in the party. But it's just like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, all these guys, when they were out there doing their stuff, the sport didn't care. Like Barry Bonds was hitting balls into the leg and everything like that, and they were just like, "Oh, look at that! He's such a great hitter." But then when it comes time for him to make the Hall of Fame, it's like he was on the list. He's a steroid guy, and what also hurt Barry Bonds, he wasn't exactly the friendliest to the media, and a lot of these baseball people are very sensitive when it comes to that. Because I'm a Red Sox fan, and I will wildly admit that David Ortiz was on the Mitchell report, even though that report you were never supposed to know any of the players on it. But David Ortiz, we found out about. You want to know why David Ortiz didn't get any pushback? The media loved David Ortiz. Plain and simple. David Ortiz was a guy you could approach. He would give you a great interview, and he was likable. Barry Bonds is not a likable guy. Well, he wasn't. I feel like he's gotten a lot better now that I think he's like a coach or something in the game. But
He's still alive.
yes, yeah, he's like I think he's like within some organization and something like that. But he's not the player anymore. So when he used to be short with the media, that rubbed a lot of them the wrong way. So yeah, if I was baseball, I would literally put the steroid guys in. If you want to keep them separate, keep them separate. Use it as a teaching tool for younger fans when they go to the Hall of Fame. Be like, look, this is the steroid wing. These are great players, but it was during a time where whatever. Like, don't penalize them because they were obviously going up against other guys who were using and they
Mm-hmm.
still excelled. So figure out a way around that. I don't make enough to necessarily make that decision, but I think the way that they're going about it just makes them look so superficial. But
Pete Rose deserves that. Pete Rose deserves the respect he gets.
look, the Pete Rose thing, like, because every year that comes out. But hold on, we'll get to that, Damien, here in a second. Do you think MLB needs to add a salary cap, or is everyone just saying that because of the Dodgers signings? Baseball, look, I'm not going to fault the Dodgers if they want to spend all this money. I can't fault them for that. Because if baseball's not going to do a salary cap, fine. They probably should have a floor. That way, some of these teams that purposely don't sign anybody, force them to spend a certain amount. Maybe that fixes the competitive balance. Because look, just because the Dodgers are signing all these people, no guarantee that they're going to win it all. Because the Dodgers, for a lot of these years that they've been stockpiling talent, have had one of the top payrolls in baseball, but they haven't won it every year because you still have to go out there and actually win games. I know
Reminds
it
me of
looks bad
another
right
team.
now. Yeah, I know it looks bad because it seems like the Dodgers are signing every available free agent. But one, they got to find ways to play all these guys. And once again, there's no guarantee that they're all going to mesh and come together over 162 games and then over, a
Some of
couple
them
more
are gonna
teams.
have to go.
Yes. So I get that it looks bad right now, but I guess if I was running it, yes, I would put a salary cap to make it so that teams don't just flaunt their big payroll and just sign everybody because that like it's easy because the Dodgers are a hateable team, and I think every sport needs that one team you all root against.
The Yankees.
But yes, the Yankees are one of them as well. I think it's now like switching to the Dodgers, but it's just like baseball should try to do something about that. John says
In
I
a
was
minute, it's
surprised.
found to be the mess. About to be the mess. Man,
Yeah, I
them.
mean the Mets want to be the Yankees and Dodgers so bad. I was surprised Carlos Beltran didn't get in, and Aaron and Manny Ramirez won't make it, which is crazy. A-Rod's another guy who, yes, A-Rod has the numbers and everything. A-Rod personality, I think, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because he had this I'm better than I'm. Look, he had like a personality that kind of came across like,
Cocky.
yes, that's the word I was looking for. I don't know why I couldn't come up with it. He kind of had like this cocky disposition about himself, and then he got wrapped up in all the steroid stuff. And it was like people were kind of just waiting for finding that flaw in his personality.
Then he started dating J Lo.
Yes, yeah. So I don't think A Rod probably gets in. Manny got popped for like the most random thing. It was like some like estrogen or something crazy like that he got popped for, and it was just like
Estrogen.
I feel like it was something along the lines of that. I don't even know, but it's just like, and if you saw Manny Ramirez and kind of stuff he did, he's a weird guy. So he got, like I said, he got popped for. I don't know. Maybe estrogen was wrong, but it was something just random that he got popped for, and obviously because of that, he won't get in either. But Manny Ramirez as a right-handed hitter was one of the best I'd seen. Like I said, I think all these guys should just get in, but baseball's going to keep them out.
Mm-hmm.
I know you addressed this one. Pete Rose has so much stuff.
He deserves it.
Personally,
That nasty man.
yes. There you go. Like if you took Pete Rose, just the baseball player, yes. But Pete Rose, the manager, is the one who bet on games. Not cool. Pete Rose, the man, not cool. So, yeah,
No. He deserves a rotten hell and stay being disrespected. Nasty man.
A Rod was and still a diva. I, yeah, like even watching A Rod on like Fox Baseball, like he still comes across as a guy like I just want to reach through the TV and like punch him in the face. I don't know.
What the hell is Manny
Yes, see,
Ramirez
I knew it.
doing?
It was some female fertility drug thing.
He must be trying to get pregnant. What?
Okay, so I think the second part of it was, I guess, like yes, because I think he had like elevated levels of testosterone, which pointed to like steroids or something. So he tried the female fertility drug to balance it out, to
That's
match
not how
it.
that works, sweetheart.
It's Manny Ramirez, okay? He probably heard somebody tell him that, and then that's right, A-Rod dated Madonna too. So
That's
like
why he turned into a butthole. That it wasn't J Lo, it was Madonna. Um, he must be trying to grow some boobs or something. Because what do you need that for? That
I'm
is not
yeah, it
your
was
testosterone and estrogen levels do not balance with one another.
uh,
That's
look,
not how hormones work.
I,
You
I
dumbass.
remember
I
the
mean,
story, and they said like the female fertility drug was like some masking thing to, yeah. So they
he an
felt like the
idiot.
female fertility drug was to mask the steroid use, so he was using the both of them. But
He's an
right,
idiot because that's not how that works.
I'm just saying, like Manny was a guy. Look, Manny went to the beat of his own drum. He was an odd guy, so he
It-
probably had somebody tell him it worked. He probably believed them, and he got popped for it.
You
Which is
do
the thing.
not use estrogen to balance out testosterone. That's not how that works.
But I'm just saying.
What?
But I'm just saying. Like you look at the guys, and it's um, like Mark McGuire, it's like
Dear people.
steroids. Sammy Sosa, steroids, all this stuff. And Manny Ramirez is a female fertility drug. It just doesn't seem right, but that's what it is. John said, "Remember the deer pee a while back?" Oh, the deer antler thing that like Ray Lewis took, the most random thing. Like
I'm gonna need these athletes to stop being so fucking weird.
these athletes, man, they will find some random stuff out there.
Like Mr. Discount Double Fraud and his ayahuasca habit.
Well, we know. Well,
Stop
look,
smoking trees before games,
I mean,
Aaron.
that guy has to be high to probably deal with himself. He is an enigma. Remember that.
He's a dummy.
I kind of has anybody in the chat watched Enigma? I refuse to watch it.
I'm not
I just
watching
gotta know
that.
if anybody's gonna watch
I
that.
saw the one trailer and it was him high off his ass talking about caterpillars. And I'm like, ah, hell no.
God, yeah, I'm glad I
I'm
hard
good.
pass on that. So, oh yeah, I mean, look, that's Final Burn. That's uh,
Ocho is a weirdo too.
see, but look at all these people we're talking about. Weird guys. Like, what's up, Mo? Always playing the NBA. Hmm, that's a good point.
Don't be an idiot like that man.
Oh, hold on, fix that. There we go. I don't even know what that is. Okay, David. um,
You
so
saw
yeah,
them little blue chew ads? Y'all know what that is.
they, those ads, man. You can't like watch YouTube for like 2 seconds
2 seconds. Blue
without.
chew.
It's like okay, we get it. There's people
We
out
get
here,
it.
but
All y'all.
um, I, hey, I guess they're selling like crazy. But I also did want to bring up that Jory and I have a Discord channel for the show that let me pull up and kind of show you. Yeah, I think I can show. Let's see if it'll come up. Hold on a second. Yes. So we have a Discord where if you want some more from us, get to know us a little bit better, feel free to sign up and join it. And yeah, we can interact in there. I can actually put the link in the chat really quickly. Let me do that. And obviously, if you do come on into the server, please don't be weird in there. Like, don't be weird. That's all we'll say. Like,
That's the
Jory,
warning.
yes, Jory and I are usually in there. We talk sports. We talk during games. Like we do all that. So if you guys want to hop in with us, here we go.
Chad Ochocinco is a weirdo. Even though his name is Chad Johnson, and he had to spend the money to go down to the damn court and change that crap to Ocho Cinco, which is
Mhm.
not even a real Spanish word. That's not 85 in Spanish.
No,
Ochenta y ocho y cinco is
he's
damn
85. Yeah,
85.
he literally went 8-5 instead of 85.
And I
But
said that number quite perfectly too. See, look, my
you did?
Spanish classes from middle school starting to kick in.
Yes. Yeah, yes, you nailed it. Um, so yeah, that's kind of all we got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Appreciate all of you that were in the chat. Like I said, the Discord link is in the chat. So, like I said, feel free to come on over, uh, interact with us when we aren't live, which we obviously do go live every Friday, sometimes on Saturday. Just make sure you follow or subscribe in Integrity Sports Network. If you're over on YouTube, hit the notification bell when we do go live. Make sure you're in here in the chat because, as you can see, We love the interaction with you all. We love going back and forth with you. I mean, we'll let you guys kind of drive the show at points and give us talking points. I see somebody joined already. Appreciate that. Um, so yeah, Jory, anything you want to add before we get out of here?
I knew I was supposed to do my episode last week, but I got sick and it snowed. So, look,
Yeah.
it's coming tomorrow.
Okay. There
I
you
got
go.
everything recorded. If you ever need some graphics, I do a pretty good job of graphics. Let me know over on Jory Sports Stories Facebook page, YouTube. There will be a fee. Don't ask for anything for free.
There you go. Let's see. Hold on a second. Yeah. So make sure you go ahead and check out Jory on Jory Sports Stories. Like I said, episode coming out for her. We do have WordPress still. We have Tumblr. If you want to check out our articles, Jory did actually just put up a. Oh, go
Because
ahead.
I didn't even talk about that today. My
Yes.
article.
Yeah.
I could have brought that up.
Hmm.
We might save that for next week.
Yes. So if you want to get kind of a sense of where that article went, like you go check it out, WordPress or Tumblr. Um, really good article, and yes, like it might catch some of y'all. I don't know. It was just a good article. I don't want to spoil it because like I said, she might use it next week for a final burn. So go check that out. My last article was up. I think it's been about a week now, but I did one on the NBA and whether it can be saved. So you can go check that out as well. You can find me chomping at the bit, my channel. Just did a yes. Robert Sala's back with the Niners. That's official. Good move for him. But yeah, if you go to my channel, you'll see I've got my podcast up there. I've got some gaming streams, all that kind of stuff. So you can go check that out as well. And I should have an article up sometime this weekend, hopefully. So make sure you look out for that. So, with all that being said, once again, appreciate you all. Make sure you're back here next Friday for another edition of the Passion and Precision podcast. Really appreciate all of you. Um, yeah, check out the games this weekend. And if you do decide to join the Discord, Jory and I will be in there chatting during the games. You're free to join us in our conversations during the game. Also, NBA games we talk in there too.
Look, I'll come back next week because I really
Yeah,
got to catch up because it's been hell for the
yes,
past 2 weeks.
yeah. We will definitely talk about that next week, Damian. So appreciate that question. I will say, because I have seen a couple games, I think it's been fun. So, but like I said, we'll deep dive into that more next week. So yeah, like, subscribe, follow Integrity Sports Network. Please do so. We have other shows on here. Those hand gestures, iPhone, they'll get you all the time. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Well, thank you all of you. Really do. We're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night, your weekend, and we will see you all next Friday for Jory and myself. All right. Bye.